here is the tutorial for this beautiful knit hat gnome. This is the second style that I have done, and everybody has fallen in love with this beautiful fall gnome. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make the hat, the buttons, and the hands. So let's get started. So you can use one of two tools. This is a hand pasta roller on the left and a clay extruder on the right. You can get both off of Amazon. If you're starting out, I would probably recommend this green one. It has a bunch of different inserts, and this is the one that I use to make the strands. And it would be a lot easier on your hands. I tend to make a lot, so I use this larger pasta maker. As you can see, it has a lot more holes, and you can put much more clay in it. But I also make so many knit hat gnomes that I need this one. You're also going to need some silicone tip tools. I don't use them very much in this video, but if you're making the pumpkin or anything for the gnome to hold, you're going to need it. You're also going to need an X-Acto knife and a longer blade, or just an X-Acto knife, but I've become a fan of that blade. Also a small ball tool. You're going to use this for the buttons. And a small circle clay cutter. So next up is the clay that I use. I use Super Sculpey in the color beige. It is a more firm clay, and I think it holds up the best for the knit hat gnomes, but you can feel free to try something else out like Sculpey Original. I know there are a few people that have tried it and don't have necessarily problems with it. It is a little softer though. So what you're going to do next is just condition some clay. This is going to be what you use or roll out to put into the clay extruder or the pasta maker if you choose to purchase that. With the green clay extruder, you don't necessarily have to condition a lot of clay at once like you do have to do with the pasta maker. You can kind of pace yourself, and you can make the clay strands a little at a time. Just throw them in a Ziploc bag and seal it and walk away. That's a great thing about polymer clay, that you can do that stuff with maybe what you can't do with air dry clay. And I do not recommend using air dry clay for the knit hat gnomes. Once you get to the end of the clay in the clay extruder, you just cut that off, and then you can move it to the edge of your cutting mat for later use. Next, we are going to work on conditioning some clay for the gnome nose. I generally like to use a small ball that will fit in the palm of my hand. You can make it larger if you are using a larger size tumbler, or you can make it smaller, like say if you're using it for like a 12 ounce or a coffee mug. Here I am putting this on a 20 ounce, so as you can see that it's a decent sized nose. Here I am just kind of shaping it, kind of where it's not a circle, or more on the oval side, but you want the edges to lay down just enough so the rim of the hat can drape nicely, and you want to make sure that you smooth out all those lines from your palm, because we don't want any bumps or ridges or anything like that. Next, I'm going to grab just a little bit of clay. We're going to do the rim of the hat, and that's going to drape all the way around the nose and into the back. For this piece of clay, you want to roll it out the best you can with your hand and make sure that it is even from tail to tail. Try to avoid it being larger on one end, because when they meet for the back, you want it to be as similar as possible. Now that we have it long enough, we're going to go ahead and drape it around the nose, and this is going to form the brim of our hat. You just drape it around the front, and you want both tails to meet in the back, and that's okay if they are longer than each other, no big deal. You're going to take your X-Acto knife, and you're going to cut all that excess off, just like I'm doing right here. Then you want the end pieces to join together. So you're going to smooth that together with your finger. And once you get to the point where it may look like have a dent in it or whatever, you're just going to roll it a little bit. And you're going to adjust it to how you like. I like to make sure that the back of the hat is as rounded as possible and even. So here I am finishing up, and once you get done with that, that is the brim of your gnome hat. Now that we're finished with the brim of the gnome hat, we're going to go back to the strands of clay that we made previously, and I'm going to teach you how to twist these properly. The first set, you're going to rotate or twist them away from your body. You want to make sure that you make these twists as even as possible. The more even that you get the strands, the better your gnome hat is going to look in the end. You want to do the same thing for all of the strands when you twist them. This one, we're going to go all the way down to the end. And then we're going to pick up 2 more strands, but this time, instead of twisting away from your body, we're going to twist towards your body. This, when put together, is going to make a single strand for your knit hat gnome. Once again, you're going to twist all the way down to the end as evenly as possible. The more even, the better it will look. Okay, so now that we have these 2 strands that are twisted in the opposite direction, we're going to lay them next to each other, and we're going to start slowly and gently squeezing these pieces together. You don't want to smash them, just gently squeezing all the way down. This is going to help hold the form together for whenever you start laying them on the hat. You're going to want to continue to do this in the same pattern with the rest of the strands of clay that you have. You may have to use the clay extruder again if you don't have enough for the full amount of the hat. I can't tell you the exact amount to use because it varies from the size of the strand. Now that we've finished all of our double strands, we're going to start laying those strands on this hat and cut about, you can do a 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch from the top of the tumbler. I will show you how to finish the top towards the end of this video. But when laying these strands, you want to make sure that you're following the angle of the hat rim. So you'll see me here cutting angles at the bottom of these strands. That way, your strands are always pointed up or they're straight. Because if you start curving the strands, then they won't meet properly in the back. Again, you're going to follow this all the way around the back until they meet. Here you will see in just a minute that I did not make enough clay strands, which is okay, no big deal. You can always use your clay extruder, condition more clay, and make more strands. There's not really a time limit with polymer clay, so just work at your own pace and go from there. So now let's show you how to finish the top of the hat. Here I obviously didn't have enough, but we can still move on to the next part. You're going to want to press your finger into the clay and drag your finger up with the clay. You want it to be thin towards the top, almost like it's translucent. You're going to bring it all the way to the top of the tumbler, all the way around. Once you get finished smoothing that out, I like to press gently on the rim of the hat to make sure that it lines up really, really well with the double strands that we added to make the knit hat look. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and take my siliconed edge tool and kind of like just gently pressed the ends of those down just to make it look like it is completely sealed with the brim of that hat. And once again, you're going to do that all the way around until it all looks completely uniform. Now moving on, you're going to see me conditioning some more clay. This is going to be for the buttons. The buttons are going to be on the side of the hat. We're just going to take an acrylic rolling pin right here and roll your clay out. You can do, and honestly, whatever thickness you want for the buttons. I kind of eyeball it. I would say generally maybe 1/4 of an inch for the buttons. You could do a 1/2 inch. You could honestly do whatever shape you wanted. If you want to do stars, hearts, you could even do little pumpkin buttons since it's fall, or little trees for Christmas. But here I used the little circle cutter. It seems to work best if it's around 3/4 of an inch for the larger tumblers. I also have a 1/2 inch for my smaller tumblers, like my 12-ounce and my coffee mugs. I just straightened out smoothed out the edges of those circles, and now I'm going to use my ball tip tool to punch the little holes for the button. Like you would see in any button on clothing where the thread goes through. Each button I am punching 4 little holes in. You can also do 2 if you would like, but I like the look of 4. That way, whenever I paint my strands for my thread, it makes a little X. Now that you're finished with the buttons, you're going to add them to the side of your hat. You can add them to the left side or right side. It does not matter which side that you place them on. They'll still be quite adorable. But you just gently press those into that clay and smooth out that fingerprint that you may have left. And there it is. That knit hat is completely finished. How cute. Last but not least, let's move on to the gnome hands. We need 2 small balls that are even with each other, and we're going to press those down into circles. This is going to create the base of our hands. Next, we're going to pick up our X-Acto knife, and we're going to make 3 even slits, which is going to create the 4 fingers of each hand. Now, if you want to do 4 slits for 5 fingers, that's fine too, but I just think it's adorable for the gnomes having 4 fingers for each hand. As you can see here, I'm just smoothing away the harsh lines of what the X-Acto knife cut. You're going to do this for each individual finger, and you want to make sure whenever you make the thumbs that when you add them to the tumbler, they're going in the correct direction. Now that we have those cute little gnome hands completed, we can add them to the tumbler. Here's where you can make any item for the gnome to hold to make it unique. I obviously made a pumpkin for fall. If you want to do a winter themed knit hat gnome, you can add a little cocoa cup and make a little knit hand. You can add anything that you really want to make it super unique. Now that the clay work is completely finished, all you have to do is bake, but make sure you follow the manufacturer guidelines on your clay package. Thanks so much for watching my tutorial. If you make it, please tag me on social media. I would love to see your work.